Okay, so we've just gone through this whole Lionsgate thing in the astrological community, and there's always this kind of rivalry or debate about is this real or not, and it depends on who you talk to. Well, I want you to know something. Even though as I record this, it's the 10th of August, there is actually a really great alignment coming up, which happens to speak to this Lionsgate. So I would say to you, the real Lionsgate is in a couple of days, and I'm going to explain to you exactly when. We're going to show you the chart and everything. I also want to just say that I am in no means criticizing anybody. I think it's wonderful if people get together to meditate and pray and send light to the planet. My goodness, we need all of that. So I'm going to share with you a little bit about what I found, and you can certainly join in and get yourself empowered by what's about to occur in the heavens. Now, if you happen to come onto this after August, early mid-August, just know that, hey, Saturn's been in Pisces for 2.5 years. And if there's anything we've known is that you can bend time. Time is irrelevant in a way, right? It's a construct. So if you want to take advantage of this very juicy, extremely rare alignment that's about to occur, you still can. You can go, I say go into meditation and go to that timeline and hook up with it. So it's just good for everybody, right? So here's the thing. I'm going to talk about that. I'm going to talk a little bit about Sirius and Jupiter and Cancer. Now, if you don't know me, my name's Irlianna. I am a practicing astrologer at StarSoundAstrology, StarSoundAstrology.com. I practice Western tropical astrology, Hellenistic ancient astrology blended with modern archetype. I also infuse yoga wisdom into my work. And my work as a session counseling astrologer is to help you live a transformed life using the language of astrology. It's my passion. I am the cosmic cheerleader. Okay, so having said all that, let's move into this Lionsgate. Okay, so the Lionsgate refers to the heliacal rising of Sirius. The word heliacal means that the sun appears behind Sirius appear. My phone keeps ringing. Who is calling me? Is it Sirius? Let me turn this dang thing off. Okay. The sun, what happens is whenever there's heliacal rising of any planet, or in this case, the fixed star Sirius, which is the brightest star in the heavens, you can always see it. It's absolutely brighter than any other star. When Sirius rises, it means it comes out from under the beams of the sun. So for like 70 days, it's under the beams. You can't see it. And then finally, it emerges, right? So it's further along. This is always in the sign of Leo. But the thing is, and this is where people debunk the Lionsgate on 8/8, the thing is, the heliacal rising of Sirius, it depends where you are on the planet. Because if you were in like the southern hemisphere, say Australia, your Lionsgate's going to be somewhere in late July and then into early August. As the further you go north, the closer it gets into August. So it depends where you are. So it's never a fixed date like 8/8. I know that people numerologically line up with 8/8, and 8 is this, wealth, abundance, and, it's all good. It's all wonderful, love, anything to have people pray and come together and open their heart is, I say, go for it, right? But I'm just here to say that it is not an astrological phenomenon. I mean, it happens every year, but what you want to look at, it's not that it's exactly 8/8. In this case, the heliacal rising from Sirius happens to coincide with this incredible conjunction of Jupiter and Cancer. And the thing that makes it different is, hey, Jupiter and Cancer conjoin all the time, right? It's not a hugely important deal. The last time it was in the sign of Cancer and this close to Sirius, it was 1942, but it was not an exact conjunction. What I mean by conjunction is a lineup. What we're seeing here is it's going to line up exactly at 14 degrees, all three planets. So normally you would just have the Sirius, every year it's going to be different astrology for when Sirius rises heliacally, right? It's just going to be different. But this year, we have such a juicy alignment. So I really want people, I invite you to just tune in. And you can see it in the sky right now. This morning, I woke up before dawn, ran outside with my camera, wandering around the streets. People probably like, ignore that woman over there. You know, she's that crazy astrologer that feeds the cats in the neighborhood. And, you know, it's like all that. But I took these amazing photos. So the thing is that you can see them in the sky right now, and there's Jupiter and Venus, right? Venus, morning star. And then Sirius was like way over here, right? It's like way over there. So the thing is, every day they get closer and closer. Now, here's the deal. When is this going to occur? It's going to be 1:30 in the morning Eastern time. I have a chart here. I'm going to show you. It's for Washington, D.C., which happens to be aligned with Sirius. Speaking of which, right? The United States is the birth date, July 4th, is 13 degrees of Cancer, right? We're a Cancer country. And that's aligned with Sirius. So the founding fathers were all astrologers. They were into the esoteric symbolism and all the Masonic stuff. And, you know, these guys were really into that whole esoteric body of wisdom. And so that is obviously, that's a whole nother rabbit hole, right? About all that. But this chart was designed to connect us with our true home. Because in ancient astrology, and in, I would say in esoteric astrology, Sirius is considered the sun of our sun. It's the brightest star in the heavens, and it's like a gazillion times bigger than our sun. If you were to compare them on a chart, the sun, our sun would be like this little dot, and Sirius would be this humongous giant basketball. You know, that's how much bigger it is. Of course, it's so far away, which is why it just looks like a star, and we have this hot sun that, you know, bears down on us. But the sun of our sun, and it's associated with initiation into the mysteries. It is aligned with the pyramids of Giza with there, and it is aligned with it is also aligned, it's part of the Orion's belt, you know, with the Orion's belt are aligned with three pyramids of Giza, and the Sirius, the fixed star Sirius, is aligned with actually the Queen's chamber of the Great Pyramid. So these are calculations that you can look it up on YouTube and, you know, read all about this sacred architecture and the astronomy and the hieroglyphics and all, and how these line up in an amazing mathematical precision. So the fact is, though, as you can see here, this is what I want to call your attention to. Jupiter, Venus, Sirius, 14 Cancer, 14 Cancer, 14 Cancer. I got to tell you something. That has never happened before. I have gone back in time hundreds and hundreds of years. The last time they got anywhere, they were not at 14 degrees. When they were all conjunct within a minute or so with each other was 500 years ago. It was almost 500 years ago in 1551. It was not at 14 degrees, but they were, remember, Sirius only moves 1 degree a year. It's a fixed star. So it almost doesn't move, which is why they call it a fixed star. So it's not like our planets in the solar system. But that's how rare this conjunction is. And so this is all lining up in the sign of Cancer, of course, right? It's Leo season. Here's the sun in Leo, and here is all of this. Now, what makes this really amazing is, of course, we've all known we've just come out of a very, very powerful full moon, which we're still feeling, a full moon in the sign of Aquarius. And this incredible kite that we've been talking about, here's Saturn, Neptune. The engine of the kite is Mars, the ruler of Saturn and Neptune, staying in the house of Aries, right? Here's the engine, Mars, in the sign of Libra. So what it takes to push forward and fly this kite into this new identity of who we are, mystically embodying a more mystical part of ourselves, incorporating that we are not just these physical bodies, right? This is part of the main, a very huge message that was presented to us for this full moon. But here, speaking of the moon, I want to show you that as this occurs here at 14 degrees of Cancer, of course, we look at what's Cancer, ruled by the moon. Here's the moon, and it's at 27 Pisces. So it's at that very, very end of Pisces. And so the moon is in the sign ruled by Jupiter, and Jupiter is in the sign ruled by the moon. So it's like they're staying in each other's Airbnb, and we call that mutual reception. And mutual reception, not by degree, but it is by trine, by their signs, or trining. These are water signs. So what does this all mean? Well, this is the end of an age with Moon in Pisces. Now remember, if you saw my webinar earlier in the year, which is still for sale, by the way, I'll put the link below. It is describing the energies that we would be living through in 2025, preparing us for 2026. You would know that this area is where the action has been taking place. This is like this cosmic Stargate. You're leaving Pisces, you're entering a new beginning with Aries, right? So the sign, the end of an age, the beginning of a whole new life cycle, a whole new expression of consciousness of who we are, what our identity is. Now, this is where so many points, the north node, Jupiter, and sorry, not Jupiter, the north node, Saturn, Neptune, Venus passed over that earlier in the year. All these planets, like 5 or 6 planets passing over back, and here it is retrograding. These guys are going back into that Pisces in about a month or so. They'll be back in there. They're going to turn around and go forward again in February. So this area here is this kind of standing at the Stargate. That's what I called the webinar, standing at the Stargate. And it's like if you imagine the Stargate TV or show or movie where they stood in front of that giant portal, and it was like looked like ocean, like water, and you'd like dip your hand in, and it would be like you're in another world there. You'd go across. That's really what this is. It's like this membrane between two worlds. And so the fact is that this conjunction in Cancer, ruled by this moon, which is saying, hey, it's time to leave behind the suffering. Moon conjunct a fixed star called Sheet, which is often associated with great tragedies, suffering. I mean, you just look at Gaza, right? It tells you everything you need to know. So this idea of bearing witness to enormous suffering, but opening our hearts and ourselves to compassion and empathy and caring, and that energy is infused into this particular, we'll call it a Lion's Gate, right? This to me is the real Lion's Gate, because this is an astrological lineup that happens to be taking place very close to the metaphysical Lion's Gate, right? So if you enjoyed the metaphysical Lion's Gate, good, send light to the planet, get it all out there. We need as much light as we can. And here is an even greater opportunity because it's rooted with astrology. And like I said, guys, never before have I seen all of these lined up it was 1551 where they were almost in that same, right? Very amazing. And what was that? The beginning of the modern age, right? It was the Renaissance had come and it was birthing the modern age. So there you go. It's almost like here's the end of that cycle of what we knew as the modern age, the age of reason. That's when astrology started getting phased out. It was the age of reason, enlightenment, and the rational mind, and everything was the left brain, and it wasn't this cohesive whole. But of course, now with our astrology and our passion for the ancient wisdom and the ancient esoteric wisdom teachings, of which astrology is one, yoga, all of that is now everything is our souls are coming back online. And so I really wanted to hammer that into you. The other thing I wanted to share is there are peoples, they're called the Dogon tribe. The Dogon tribe is in West Mali, Africa, West Africa. And they are an ancient people who, in their cosmology, they believe they came from Sirius. and they were seeded from like star seeds, seeded from Sirius. These ancient peoples and their rituals, and many indigenous peoples have this connection with Sirius. But the Dogon, what's remarkable about them, and you can watch these little YouTube videos, it'll show you that they actually, Sirius, the star Sirius, is actually a binary. There's Sirius A and then Sirius B, which is an invisible star, and it was not discovered by Westerners until 1862. However, the Dogon people had known about it like millennia before. They were able to, however, tune in. They use, just like the Babylonians and the ancient Babylonians with their Mesopotamian astrology, they had amazing complex measurement systems that had nothing to do with, there were no computers, right? I mean, I don't know, these guys were really good in math. And and so just like them, they had this intense connection with the heavens and measuring and calculating. The Dogon people figured out that there was not just Sirius A, what we call Sirius A, the visible Sirius star. There was a Sirius B. And so they knew this long before the Western guys caught up to it. It was really amazing. So they're a very special people. And I think they're, to me, I feel like they're the wisdom keepers. They are one of many, wisdom keepers for the planet. So this lineup is helping us to connect with all these energies of Sirius, our true ancestral home among the stars. Cancer has to do with memory, family, lineage. And this is a cosmic lineage. It's not like, oh, my mother-in-law, it's like, no, not that lineage, but something greater and something cosmic. And so this particular connection with Jupiter, which is the planet of abundance and increase, it's all about increase, and it's about the big picture. What is our really true, what is my divine truth about Cancer, the things that really matter to me, conjoined with Jupiter this time around, both of them at 14 degrees, 3 minutes, 1:30 in the morning, Washington, D.C., adjust for your time zone. And you'll see that this is, by the way, when you see it in the sky, it's going to be this big blob of light as the two, Jupiter and Venus, conjoin with Sirius. So I got some really cool pictures today. I don't have the greatest camera, but at least I was able to record it. And my invitation to you is open your heart and just receive. What is the big picture? What are the greater things, the cosmic truth that I really want to align to, that's going to make a difference for me, that I really care about? What are the things I care about that have to do with family, that have to do with nurturing, that have to do with healing, that have to do with letting go of the past, of, say, perhaps with that moon in the mutual reception with Jupiter, letting go of past pain. Where I suffered? How can I help others who are suffering? Looking beyond ourselves, right? And maybe too, with Jupiter connected so much to material wealth on our plane of demonstration, this would be like, hey, what kind of wealth are we talking about here? Like, what is the greatest wealth of all? And so these are great conversations I'm giving you some prompts here, but I'm sure, use your intuition, Cancer, right? You will know, lean into your gut. This is the gifts and the talents that we have of divining cosmic wisdom by how does it land in our body? How does it feel? Feel your way in. Remember, Mars in Cancer was retrograde last year from December, January, February in the sign of Cancer, going right over these. It retrograded right next, and it went direct, very close. I think it was 16 degrees, right next to this point. So it was opening us up to, okay, what needs to change? How about infusing our goals with our intuition? And when we want to go, Mars, right, the planet of action, when we want to do something, what do we want to do? Is it going to be driven by our head? Mars, Aries rules the head, or is it going to be how we feel? It's our gut, it's our intuition. So that was giving us a lot of work to do to reorient ourselves, to infuse the compassionate part of our brain, the feeling part, into the work about the things that we really care about, and the work and the direction that we want to take with our life. Now, Jupiter and Venus are there saying, let's do it. Let's go. Let's connect with that big picture. And it's a very great window for this enormous intuitive knowing and a connection with our ancestral home in the heavens with Sirius. Let's see what else I was going to say. Oh, the last thing I wanted to just say is, oh, by the way, if you are digging this conversation and you want to see more, I'm going to come out with more. So hit that subscribe button, and get on the mailing list. StarSoundAstrology.com. Just go for it. But what I want to say is, oh, by the way, and I have to say too, I want to give a shout out to MJ Hughes, who is an incredible fashion designer. We're talking about Sirius and Egypt and the connections with the pyramid. Let me tell you, go to magicalyogiwear.com. She is a fashion designer and she incorporates all these amazing esoteric symbols. Brilliant, talented artist and fashion designer. She incorporates these sacred symbols. She loves Egypt. She has got this totally got this serious thing going on. I mean, oh my goodness. And Egypt and the temples and yoga and the temples in India. She's very, very devoted to art and the sacred geometries, and she weaves this into her fashion. So I have some of her yoga shorts, and she's got things for unisex hoodies, pants. Check it out, magicalyogiwear.com. Beautiful things, right in line with this conversation. Anyway, thank you, MJ, for all the beauty you bring to the planet. Okay, last thing I want to do. Here's a homework assignment. All right, I want now. Not only would I invite you to write down in the comments section below, how is this landing for you? How are you feeling about this when you see the actual conjunction? And if, like I said, if you have come upon this video after August 11th or 12th, 1:30 a.m., don't worry, because for the several days later, we'll still be in the afterglow of all this, right? So it'll still be when at 14 degrees. Let me see, the date is, yeah, 14, 15. Yeah. So don't worry about it. If it goes Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, you'll still feel it. It's just the energy is going to be separating, right? Just separating. But if you do come upon this, months later, whatever, as the internet, people are still clicking on my videos from like 2 years ago. It's like, hello, what is the new moon of 2023 going to do for you? I don't know. But anyway, maybe they just want to look at this crazy hair. I get it. It's cool. But anyway, if you do and you want to connect with this, don't feel bad. Like I said, guys, go bend time. It's there to be bent. It's like those little sippy straws, that has a little accordion thing in the middle. You just bend time and go back and connect with Jupiter and Venus. They're like, hey, we're cool. Just go for it. But what I want to say is here's a little homework assignment for you. And I leave you with this. There's a Pixar movie. Remember Finding Dory, the sequel to Finding Nemo? That movie, oh my God, I'm getting chills. Totally encoded everything in Pixar. Obviously, they're very, very high teachings. As we know, they ain't little kid stories, right? But if you watch that movie, what is that movie really about? Yes, she's finding home, but I have to say, I had a mystical experience watching that. I unfortunately did not get to see this in the theaters. I watched it on DVD long after it came out. And I had this outrageous experience where I actually kind of passed out in the middle of the movie. I just kind of, I don't know, it's weird. I went into this like quote dream, how those dreams so real, it's not a dream. And my true spiritual home was revealed to me. Yeah, it was wild. And I'm like, oh, this is really what this Finding Dory is all about. It's our home, not just a home where we grew up or our parents and whatever. It's home. So I want you to watch that movie. Tell me what you feel. Think about it. Watch it again. If you've never seen it, great. If you have, watch it with a new level of understanding. You know, that scene with the beluga whale. I mean, whales got this enormous pituitary, right? It's outrageous. So look at it through the eyes of this conjunction and, tell me what you think. Anyway, that's all for today. And I hope you've enjoyed this conversation broadcast. And like I said, just hit that subscribe button and I'll see you soon on the next one. This is Irlianna Samsara, Star Sound Speaks, StarSoundAstrology.com. Thank you for listening. Namaste.